Because of me, because we're late.
All right, so we're back. I was on vacation last week.
What a slacker.
Yeah, man, Pacific Northwest, pretty crazy out there.
Yeah, it's really nice up there, huh?
Yeah, really nice. No,
Did it rain?
no, not really. I mean, Portland and Seattle, it's kind of like gloomy all the time. It doesn't really rain a lot. The last day it rained a little bit, but it was pretty cool. I stayed at this really cool hotel in Seattle called the Edgewater. Like all the rock stars stayed there. Like the
Yeah,
Beatles stayed there. It's like on a
including
pier.
yourself, right?
Yeah, including myself. I'm a rock star. But the Beatles stayed there, and the hotel is built on a pier, and they were like there's this picture of them fishing out the window. Like they had fishing poles, and they're fishing like out the window of the hotel. I don't know if that's frowned upon right anymore, but it's pretty cool. All right, so what do we want to talk about today? First of all, VPN client. There's a new VPN client coming out for the EnGenius gateways. Correct?
That is right. Right. So next week, actually, press release will go out talking about this new VPN client. Currently we do support VPN client, um, which is
It's an SSL based client.
yeah, it's SS. Yeah, I'm sorry.
And I'm actually connected right now. I'll show the connection. So my laptop's connected right now, but you have to use the TrueSoft client to connect to the EnGenius gateway with the client VPN right now.
Yep.
It's a little bit of a complicated install, but once you do it, it works fine. When I'm traveling, I use this to be able to, remote into my network basically.
Yeah,
So
I think the main thing, right, is
yeah,
there, like, if you're a novice user, you probably wouldn't be able to use this, or you would have difficulties with it.
yeah. I mean, just the configuration, like the configuration's not so simple. You'd have to have your
Yeah.
network admin configure it, but then you can easily launch it. But yeah, the new EnGenius client's gonna be much better, right?
Yeah, so yeah, that's what we were kind of running into. So if you're using like iPhone or Mac, I mean, they have VPN tools, right? So you could connect easily with that, right?
Yeah.
But like on a Windows machine, that's when there's some customers out there having difficulties, like novice users weren't able to configure it.
Right.
And so they would they just have difficulty with it, right? So we saw this as a problem because they're constantly, the VPN software is always like changing, right?
Yes.
And so we have to make sure we're changing with it. We're not notified of any changes, so there's always the difficulty of it. You have it up and running, and there could be some changes, and so you have to make an update and things like that. So it became like pretty cumbersome. I think it becomes very cumbersome for like it's a very manual process, and there's a lot of things you need to know, like server addresses, protocols, encryption settings, and you got to make sure that's all correct. So if you have a lot of users and you're an IT administrator and you have to set these all up for like a remote worker, then that's difficult. The other issue is like you could have multiple devices. Like an employee could have devices and they're switching between different devices. And does the VPN support across all those platforms? So we wanted to have something that you could have that made this whole process easy. And some of these VPN clients, they have like pretty traditional VPN licensing falls in place with that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's normally based off of sessions or devices, right? So again, we're trying to like overcome some of the problems that are occurring in the field, right? So we wanted to add more value to our customers, and that's with the gateway, and also make it really, really easy. So
Right.
that's kind of the purposes of it.
Okay. And it's going to support additional security protocols too, I believe, right?
Yeah, so it's basically secure point is what it's called, or
Okay.
security point. Like I said, it released November 1st. You'll see a press release go out on that. But we overcome a lot of those challenges I just talked about.
Yes.
So it should make it very easy for an IT administrator if they have hundreds of if they have hundreds of remote workers, for example, and we ran into this case years ago, and they need to be on a VPN, like how can you easily do that? And so we believe that we have a solution that can do that.
So basically here's what makes the EnGenius client easy now to configure. Now you're not going to need to know the IP addresses of the gateway or anything. You just put in the VPN username and password. The client will reach out to the cloud and automatically find the network.
Yeah, so it will work in combination with, obviously our cloud management platform and our gateway.
Right.
Right. So you can actually build the user within cloud, and this will make it easy in regards to like certification on the actual device and things like that. Mm-hmm. And the users can get updated very easily through the cloud.
Right, right.
So they're just like really onboarding. They need a username and they need a password, and they're basically
up and running. Whereas with another VPN client, like the ShoeSoft or any other that's a non-cloud based gateway, you need to know the public IP address of the gateway and a bunch of other private IP addresses and have those all configured in the client, which it can be hard to do.
Yeah.
So
so the things that we were kind of thinking about, and what we're running into, right? This is real world kind of issues that we are running into is just multiple platforms. Either it be like Windows, Mac, iOS, or Android. So to be able to support a VPN client across those platforms, right? The other thing is we want to provide like auto push VPN setups. So the IT administrator goes in and is able to push these configurations out to like all his users, mm-hmm. and that's utilizing the cloud and the gateway. So this eliminates like manual and more complicated setups for like the end user side.
Right.
Now, the system or the solution will come with 2 licenses on a gateway, right? Mm-hmm. So if you have one of our gateways, you'll have 2 licenses. If you go beyond that, then there will be a license tied to it, but it will be per user license. So that will make it easier for like an IT admin that, for example, they have 50 workers. That you need 50 licenses, for example.
Right.
And so like the cost is very predictable. And you pretty much, a user can use multiple devices to connect with that one license as well.
Okay. So yeah, each one of those licenses can connect multiple devices for that one user.
That's right.
So, so yeah, it's scalable. Like for home use or whatever, those 2 licenses are going to be enough for probably everyone. But then any kind of business case, you need to purchase the number of licenses for however many VPN client users you have, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
that's right.
Makes sense. All right. So another thing we wanted to talk about, we saw that HAMINA is now offering an all-in-one device, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, site survey tool, right?
Yeah. So it was a prediction. Basically their tool was a web-based prediction tool to do heat maps, right, for Wi-Fi coverage. Now they've added in the active survey part, and they're using it looks like an Osmium device that has a spectrum analyzer and Wi-Fi adapters in it.
Right.
Looks a lot like the Ekahau Sidekick.
Actually, it looks really small.
It looks
right?
small.
It's combined
smaller,
with
yeah, for sure.
We're speaking from just seeing this online, right?
Yeah.
So it looks like it runs with an app with a very small device that hangs around your neck, right?
Yeah.
So it's it looks pretty cool. We're using HAMINA Wireless. I really like what this company's doing. I've said this before. EnGenius really aligns with this company and what they're doing because they're offering the same sciences like Ekahau in regards to like doing site surveys for Wi-Fi deployments.
Yeah.
But their licensing model, this is the cloud solution, so their licensing model is very aggressive. So I would say small business, if you're deploying in small business or you're a small business or medium to enterprise, you could utilize this tool, and it's very cost effective, right?
Mm-hmm.
Along with this new site survey tool, that's pretty cool. That's something that we should probably look into as a company. We already use Hamina as a site survey tool. We have multiple sales engineers that
Predictive,
use
yeah.
it, and they do site surveys, and we use this tool. So the Hamina side, the Hamina wireless predictive tool, but not the site survey tool.
Yeah, it looks good. So that they've got a complete solution now, and you know, Osseum's making the hardware for them and for MetaGeek now. So it's kind of nice that there's you know, they're using like some universal hardware that others can plug into too. You know, so
Yeah.
I've been selling the Osseum Y Prize for a while now, and it's a pretty good company. So pretty nice. I wanted to find out some more about this new Hamina survey product,
Yep.
and we'll talk about it later.
Yep.
All right.
How
One.
does that
Go ahead.
how does that tie in? Sorry,
No, it's
I knew
okay.
you were trying to get. How does that tie in with the Y-Spy?
The Y Spy. So Y Spy is no longer so like MetaGeek.
Not Y-Spy, but the newer
The Y
version.
Pri.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
mean, the Y Pri is made by Osseum, and it comes with its own software. So, but it's just a spectrum analyzer. So
Right.
you know, it doesn't have any. It has some Wi-Fi data that it pulls from the Wi-Fi adapter in the laptop or that you're using it on. But so they they do have a software component of it, but it seems like they're opening up their API to other software manufacturers, so that which is great.
Right.
So as far as the Y Spy goes, we talked about this last week. MetaGeek used to make the hardware USB device, but now they're just making the software and they're using the Osseum device. So both companies are using the
Right. Right. Right.
Osseum
That's what I was
hardware.
referencing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a little confusing, but it all makes sense. All right, so one last thing we want to talk about is garage Wi-Fi. So it's interesting. Like all new cars need Wi-Fi to download software updates. Um,
Yeah. Anymore. Right. That's kind of the situation now.
yeah, exactly. So like any new car, especially EVs, they're gonna rely on having strong Wi-Fi where the car's parked, right? Like so,
Yeah.
for instance, I had my Tesla like at the end of the driveway, and I didn't have an access point in the garage. I have one at my office, which is above the garage, but I didn't have one in the garage. So I was noticing the app wouldn't always connect, so you can't like preheat the car or pre-cool it or whatever.
Yeah.
And it would connect most of the time, but I was looking at the signal strength and it was way too low. And so I went ahead and I put an access point in the garage. I'll share like what it looks like. So I'm sharing it, and you can see the Tesla's connected now, and it's got good signal strength, right?
What is it now? You see it?
I can't see it. It's showing green. Like I'm looking at RSSI for the whole for everything connected. I could drill down into it, but let's do that. Let's see. It's loading. So yeah, it's
I'm
at
trying to get there
negative
too.
79. Negative 79. Which is just about minimum for like good be able to stream like and that's with the
That's on 2.4 right now, right?
yeah, so it'll roam both bands. It's still parked pretty far out, but I'm able to connect to the app well now and download everything. I've got the wall connector on there, garage door openers, and actually all my vehicles need Wi-Fi to download. The C8 Corvette needs Wi-Fi to download its updates, which they don't push very often.
Yeah.
Because GM isn't efficient on doing over-the-air updates yet, but Rivian's connected, so yeah, I mean, it makes sense that if you have a connected home, to also don't forget about the garage. Put an access point in the garage,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you don't want spotty Wi-Fi to have the updates fail, right?
Yeah, never want that.
Do you have one in your garage too, or it's
Yeah,
above?
I mean, from day one, I've had one in my garage.
Okay.
I'm running a 230S in my garage, and I'm running a 336 in my house. So they're actually meshed together.
Okay.
So the one in the garage is meshed, but I've never really had. Yeah, I've never had signal issues within my garage because I've always had an EP in there.
Yeah, I always took for granted that I had enough access points in the house that I would get like enough basic coverage outside the house, right?
Yeah,
But these vehicles need better than that if you want to access a lot of the functions and want them to work all the time.
yeah,
So always put a ECW 230 230S in your garage. I think it makes sense.
yeah. I mean, that's what I have. But didn't you put a 336 in your garage?
Not in the garage because there's not any Wi-Fi 6E devices. I don't think none of the vehicles are going to support that for a while.
Yeah, but not just garage, but if you walk out there with your laptop, for example, and you're 6 gigahertz, right? And you want to use six
Yeah,
gigahertz.
yeah, I thought about it, but I was like, I have the 336 in my office, right? So where I'm at most of the time, and I'm getting 6 gigahertz connectivity here with my laptop, my phone. But I don't really need it in the garage, right? So that's an example of where you may not
That's
always need 6 gigahertz,
that's not the way to think, Jeff.
because
Okay.
just because like the
I'm gonna have
vehicles.
Wi-Fi 7 in my
Yeah, I mean
garage in
Wi-Fi
my house,
seven,
dude.
Wi-Fi seven maybe, right?
Yeah,
What?
Wi-Fi 7, but I mean, the reason I would have Wi-Fi 7 in there is because of the 6 gigahertz, right?
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
because
I
I
don't
do
know.
walk to my garage.
I mean, I thought about it for a second. I thought
Yeah,
about using even an older access point like the ECW 130, but because like all these these vehicles are using actually the Tesla, you can't use WPA 3. You need to have WPA 2.
yeah. I'm not talking about your Tesla. I'm talking about your new iPhone,
Yeah, I
your
mean, I guess.
laptop. You
I guess
know.
it'd be nice, but okay, I'm gonna go swap it now.
Yeah, yeah,
Six,
yeah.
60 in the garage too. But no, it does make sense because all these devices you want your garage opener to work. When that was another thing we talked about, like Tesla has the MyQ integration,
Yeah.
and I would have to put the car into drive so it would disconnect the Wi-Fi before I could shut my garage door because the signal wasn't strong enough.
Right, right.
So now everything works nicely. So don't for home Wi-Fi, don't overlook the garage. All right, all right.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
anything else you want to talk about, Brian?
No, that was it.
All right, I'm gonna go try to catch up on some work, and we'll be back.